How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the B Team. We got a good one for you today. We got Mikey over there. We got Mike over Colin over here.
Two Mikes. Mike squared.
Mike and Mike in the morning.
Mike and Mike in the morning.
Shout out to that show. Good show for you today. We got the AFC South preview, and we have some big news around the NFL coming out of the Combine. Mike, I'm excited for this one, but most importantly, you know why I'm excited? Because this show is brought to you by Mesa Modern Mexican over in the heart of Easton, Pennsylvania. Mesa is dropping content like no other, so what I need you to do is not only head to the restaurant, I need you to head over to Instagram and throw them a follow and check out the drinks and the food that they are providing their customers and their restaurant goers. And if you like what they're putting out, and if you like what this show's putting out, what we need you to do is head over to Mesa. Mm-hmm. We need you to get an entree. We need you to tell them the B Team sent you because let me tell you, you're going to get 10% off of that entree.
Yeah.
Mike, tell them a few entrees.
All right, let's go skirt steak, mac and queso, enchiladas, the seafood enchiladas, the pork relleno. There are so many things you can get. Mm-hmm. And on top of it, we have a whole new drink menu. There are...
Oh, yeah. Tell us some drinks. Tell us some drinks. I saw some on the Instagram, and they look fantastic.
There are, between mocktails, the specialty cocktails, there are, I think, 32 new drinks that you could be ordering, and they're all pretty damn good.
And they all could be made by Mikey right over here.
That too. I make them look cute. Salted caramel espresso martini for the ladies out there. I know you love your espresso martinis. Come on over to Mesa. Come get one. You got some hibiscus margaritas. You got some mezcal margaritas.
Oh boy.
There are a lot of good things.
I love
shout out Christine. You snapped. This is all because of you.
Shout out to Christine. Mesa Modern Mexican. Head over there. Get your entree. Get 10% off when you mention the B Team. Let's go. All right, Mike, here we go. AFC South preview. This is one of the, I would say it's one of the more disrespected divisions in the league.
Always will
in
be.
Terms of, they have very good players in the division, but does anyone really believe in any of these teams? No. The Texans have the most belief in them out of every fan watching the NFL. But even them, you look at last season, that was a dud. They couldn't stay on the field. They couldn't stay healthy. They need to have a bounce back season. They need to solidify the O-line. I think they really were not helping C.J. Stroud out a lot this year with that O-line. Injuries don't help in the wide receiver room, but good on the Texans to make the playoffs. Then you look at the Colts, you got the Jags, you got the Titans. Honestly, all three of them really have quarterback issues, I would say. They got big player issues in those teams, and yeah, let's look into this. What team do you want to start with? You want to start with the Texans?
Let's start with the Texans.
Let's get the big boy out of the way.
Yeah, let's get the big guy out.
Yeah, so the Texans, they win the division. They make the playoffs. Good for them. I think they've solidified themselves as the team to beat in this AFC South division. Yep. You have the best quarterback in the division. I'm putting C.J. Stroud up there probably in the top 10 quarterbacks in the league at this point. I think the kid is quality. Ever since he came out of Ohio State, entered the league, him and D'Amico have got it going there. But to say that this season was underwhelming is probably an understatement in terms of what they showed in his rookie year. The defense, good, not as good as it was the year before. The offense, good, not as good as it was the year before. The O-line for me is just the biggest thing they got to fix if they're to have a bounce-back year. You got to have guys you depend on. You can't have, Kenyon Green, I think that's his name, right? Was he the left guard? You can't have your left guard getting benched in the middle of a season because he's giving up 12 sacks a year. He's giving up 5 pressures a game. You can't have that and expect to be successful.
Yeah, they have, especially when we're in regards to the O-line, they have a lot of cap casualties.
Yeah.
A lot of guys are going into the free agent market, and they're going to be demanding contracts. I don't know if they go the team-friendly route, if any of those guys who are currently on the roster are going to take that pretty much big pay cut. Laramie Tunsil, again, that dude's one of the best in the leagues. You got to keep him. Yep. You got to extend him as well. Doesn't matter if he has so many false starts, bro, because he's an all-pro. He's so good. He's a Pro Bowler the last 4 years. He's a big name for a reason. Fantastic draft picture when that came out. But they're a weird team. I think even though they made it to the playoffs, got out of the first round, you know that they took a step back. You had a feeling that they took a step back. C.J. Stroud's play. The defense was good. It was very good. I think Derek Stingley is showing why he was picked number 4 or number 3 in front of Sauce Gardner. So They have players. That's not the issue. They have weapons. For some reason, I don't know why, but every single year, they need a wide receiver. They need a wide receiver. They had 3 of them last year who were pretty much wide receiver 2 minimum. That was the floor. Yeah. But Tank Dell, like, what's his health going to look like now? Because he's been shot. He's been hurt every year.
I do want to point something out here because we've talked about the health of the wide receivers. I've said it. You've said it. I think a lot of people in sports media have talked about it. We all have to remember Tank Dell, that injury he sustained in Kansas City wasn't just like a freak accident. It was a freak accident, but it wasn't like he was just running down the field and tore his ACL. Mm-hmm. You know, like he's not injury prone.
Yeah.
His own player dove into his kneecaps. Like, there's nothing you can do there.
True.
So I think to say he's injury prone, how I've seen some people say, I think that's a little dramatic.
Mm-hmm. Just his size for me.
Yeah.
That's the only issue.
I think that you got to play him like a Turpin. You got to play him like a Kevontae Turpin, which the Cowboys should be doing more.
I like that, yeah.
But I don't see him. He shouldn't be taking up roles like Nico Collins is. Nico Collins is a completely different wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Play him like Devontae Smith. You know, you play him underneath. You get him to be one-on-one out on the sideline. Don't let him be in these situations where he's expected to go up and catch a football.
Coming across the middle. Again,
yeah,
if you're running short drag routes, short drag routes are fine, but like you're not doing deep. I mean, he's a special receiver though because he has the ability to run those deep routes, those deep crossing routes. We saw it a bunch before Stephon Diggs hopped on the team, you know. So Stephon Diggs, like he's going to come back. I think he's still under contract here. He's not under contract?
Stephon Diggs is a free agent right now.
He's a free agent.
So they would have to re-sign him along with Robert Woods, which to be honest with you, I don't think they should bring either back.
What I could see Woods, but dude, it's funny because they still have a lot of young guys. I feel like Nico has like kind of stepped into that role where he's been in the league for a while. He could provide that veteran leadership. You don't need these 30-year-old guys anymore. And John Mechie, that's another young guy who obviously was highly touted coming out of the draft, went to Alabama, obviously that battled, I believe, leukemia or something. So, I mean, thank God he's okay, of course, but we need these other guys to step up, and I think they're going to attack the draft. I think that's the only way. They could maybe, they are an enticing team to come to when it comes to free agent targets. Like, if you can somehow get a Chris Godwin in there or a Cooper Kupp, that would be awesome. But again, you got to handle the finances. I think they're actually pretty good with their cap space at the moment.
So they're bottom 10 right now. They got $5 million under.
$5 million.
They have 6 picks in the draft. They were round 1, round 2, round 3, round. They have one in every round except round 6. So this is a win now team.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
just can they pull the right strings this offseason?
Mm-hmm. I think what is really hurting them is that they're tied down to Dalton Schultz, and he's the man. I think the contract is 3 years, $30 million. Mm-hmm. So believe it or not, you're just gonna have to withstand it. You can't really cut him and leave all that dead money on the table when it's really a tight end position you're talking about.
Yep.
You have Cade Stover there who has looked pretty good. Obviously, he definitely has a ceiling. He's not like gonna be your Brock Bowers prototype or anything. Brevin Jordan, if he stays healthy, I think he could be electric. But again, health factor on his end. The running backs, I mean, listen, you have Dameon Pierce there. Are you going to bring someone in? I wouldn't be mad if they took a running back in the draft if you're talking round 3. Round 2, there's just really no need. You got Mixon there, but just to have some depth and maybe like looking for the long term, because Mixon, once his contract is up, they're going to move off him. They're not going to pay him a bag. No. He's getting older in age too. Still in his prime right now, but you can attack a guy in the 3rd round here at running back, like a.
But I think you gotta love him. You gotta love him though.
Yeah, that's
because
fine.
you gotta look at this guy as he's going to be the future after Mixon leaves.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to have someone where you're like, all right, we need a running back. He looks good. Yeah. We'll bring it. You got to love this guy.
For sure.
You could go get him next year. Mixon will be probably on Texans. He'll be doing a job. How long's his contract still?
I think he's got 2 more years.
2 more years? All right. So basically you have this draft and the next one to figure out who you want at running back.
And Dameon Pierce, I think his rookie deal is coming up after this year. He'll be done. So getting someone to at least get some competition with him would be nice because we saw Dameon Pierce's rookie year. Like, he had it. So obviously, they made some hires. They brought in the guy from Los Angeles. I think how can Dameon Pierce fit in that system? And I think he'd do really well. It's just, can he get back to his original form, or is that because Joe Mixon's got it all on hold? But having a nice RB2, change of pace to, get the job done and not run for, 2 yards per carry. Like, you don't want that. That's not ideal. But on defense, I don't know, man. Like, maybe secondary, maybe another cornerback. But I like Kamari Lassiter. I thought had a really good year. Maybe a safety, but I don't think they have many holes, to be honest. Yeah. Maybe a linebacker, but I thought they played exceptional for the players that they had. Not big name guys, stepped up rookies. They played well, and I think D'Amico's got that defense on lock. So it's one of those. Hey, let's get more weapons for CJ. Let's block for him better. And they'll be fine. Like, I think injuries kind of hurt them this year. Maybe a couple of duds like against the Jets. They should, of course, can't lose to the Jets, man. But no, I see them attacking a guy into the draft. I could see maybe like a Luther Burden or a Emeka Egbuka, one of those guys. Because again, can you rely on Tank? Can one of those two guys maybe fill that wide receiver 2 role? Because having Tank as a wide receiver 3 or 2 is great, but again, it's just a health concern. John Mechie's there. That's really it. I mean, I still think they're in a position to win. I think they can still win the division again. Yeah. CJ's got to step up. Of course, he's got to have a better year. Definitely looked a little uneasy at times. Was a little inaccurate, but I think this team is going to make another playoff push. 100%.
I agree with you there. Let's move on to the Colts. So the Colts, they missed the playoffs for the 4th straight year. They were right on the fringe of it. They had it. It was in their hands, and then just fell apart at the end of the year. Quarterback was an issue all season. Is AR the guy? Should they have gone with Joe Flacco? I don't think either answer is right or wrong. But what is correct is the fact that they need to address this quarterback position this offseason, whether it's in free agency or they go into the draft. But Anthony Richardson he's not shown to be the franchise guy.
They reached.
They did. They did. And
I honestly, I don't blame them.
I'm going to try and find the clip of this to put it in here. But if we go back to that draft, I said this to everyone, that he is not that good. He's good. Don't get me wrong. But he's not at the level of a C.J. Stroud. He's not at the level of what the Colts need him to be. He's a great, I don't know, not Drake May, what's his name? Drew Lock. He's a great Drew Lock. Let him fly around a bit, see the different organizations. If the quarterback goes down, he can hop in. He can give you a fun game to watch. He'll run a bit. He'll get tackled. He'll come out of the game when he gets tired, like Taysom Hill. Like, he can give you all that. He can give you all that. But to be a franchise guy, I don't think that's it. He's not him.
He's one of the harder quarterbacks to kind of put a grade on because, like, when you just look at the raw athleticism that he has and what literally got him drafted number 5 overall.
Daniels.
Like, you look at what he did and like what he can bring to the table, it just hasn't happened yet. And like guys like him, I feel like just take a couple more years than usually the guys who succeed, like a Jaden Daniels and a Mahomes right off the bat. Like Cam Newton, he's just one of those guys where it might be later rather than earlier. Like maybe year 5 or 6, he finally starts gelling it together. He's in a good system that fits him, and he's a stud, and he's looking like a number 5 overall player. But why don't they just bring someone in to at least give him some competition? I think it'd be a bad move if they just rocked with Anthony Richardson, didn't have a quarterback that was. Say they bring someone in, oh, you're definitely going to be the backup. This is AR's job. I don't think that should be the case. I think. And we're going to throw this guy's name. We've already thrown his name a lot around our podcast, but Justin Fields, if they don't,
similar quarterbacks,
exactly. And if the Steelers don't bring him back, which I think they're going to keep him.
Yeah, I think so.
But you got to get a guy in there who could be a starting caliber quarterback and at least give him a run for his money. Because again, who as a Colts fan is like, oh, like AR, it's AR season, AR this, AR that. Every single year, they win a game. Oh, AR is great. Then he goes for 120 yards and 2 picks, and he runs for 90. But it's like, okay, is that sustainable? No, it's not sustainable. So that for me, they just need to bring somebody in, just at least get some competition, beat him, try to get someone to beat him out for the starting job. Or if he has a great offseason, great preseason, great training camp, then he started him. You drafted this guy number 5 overall. You have to see what's the future for him because now his contract is going to be expiring soon. You got to figure it out. But I think do you have anything on that before?
No, I was just gonna add to it. There's guys out there you could bring in that have started in the league, have done well in the league, and they could offer some competition. At the very least, create a little bit of a brotherhood in that quarterback room where, it's not a Joe Flacco old head in there with him.
Yes.
You could bring in a Justin Fields, and, Justin Fields has been through this before. He's been in the competition. He's not going to come out of Pittsburgh, though. But,
I don't think so either.
Danny Dimes is sitting there in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So you go bring a Danny Dimes who's been around the league. He's now he's probably going to be a backup for the rest of his career. I can't see him really getting another franchise-type job.
No.
But that would be a good one to bring into the Colts. He looks like a Colt.
Mm-hmm.
He does. He looks like a Manning brother. Just throw him in the Colts uniform. Let him go. At the very least, AR's got someone to talk to who's been through the ups and downs of the league.
At least has experience as a starter. And the thing
is young.
Again, we're talking about
they
the
can
Giants.
vibe. We got to talk about vibes.
Yeah,
dude.
they would vibe. For some, I find them vibing.
I think they would.
Yeah, I think Danny Dimes could vibe.
I think.
You think he could vibe?
If Kirk Cousins can vibe with the chain, I think Danny Dimes could. Dude, Danny Dimes would have AR out there with a shotgun hunting in the middle of Indianapolis looking for
Where
ducks.
is he from, Danny Dimes?
Danny Dimes? No clue. But he went
to
North
UNC.
Carolina?
Yeah.
He's one of those Drake May type guys.
Yep.
I could see Danny Dimes being like a Carson Wentz, just a vibes guy. He's not gonna play football, but he could lift the team through vibes.
He can. He's got
locker room guy.
I think he's got to break out of his shell a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the Giants have scarred him for life.
Yeah.
So I think once he was in Minnesota, he was happy. He was smiling. And again, he was a starter of the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Like he did what he could. Am I calling him? I don't know, a guy who deserves a second chance that can, maybe start in this league? No, but he could definitely fill in. I mean, he's got the experience, and he's looked good at times, and he's looked bad at times. All right,
yeah.
we'll get that out the way.
But he's someone that if AR was struggling,
yes,
you could put him in there, and you'd be comfortable, and he can run a similar offense. That year when he got the Giants into the playoffs, he was running for 80 yards a game. It felt like,
yeah,
and he was running over people.
Danny Dimes.
So Danny Dimes can run the same offense if you need him to.
I still think Darnold is such a good fit for this team, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Like there are a lot of dominoes that are stacked up right now, and there are a couple that fall. Okay, for example, Matthew Stafford, his obviously price gouging of the market is bringing it back to LA. That dictates a lot in the draft. I mean, now what are the Giants going to do? What are the teams that wanted Stafford going to do? Like I'm telling you, you're going to hear more and more of this heating up where the Titans, we'll get into them, but I'll save it. But we need to address something about the Colts here.
All right,
the O-line has been very good, but they are dealing with some very bad things in this upcoming season which need to get addressed. Will Fries is going to go in free agency, and he's going to demand a bag. Yes. He's been pretty solid for the Colts for the last couple of years. Braden Smith, cap casualty, he's probably going to get cut. Outside of Quentin Nelson, what are we doing here?
Ryan Kelly,
free agent. Like we got to address that. We got to address that line, man. That's the most important. That's been the biggest thing for the Colts that they've always landed on, and they've always kind of fell back on was a good O-line, a good run game. But you need a tight end. I'm telling you this. Tyler Warren to the Colts makes so much sense. I know. I talk highly about him. Well, who'd you say?
I say he looks like a Colt.
Dude. Jeremy Shockey, Colt.
Yeah.
It looks like a Colt. It looks like, he fits.
Yeah.
He fits the Indianapolis Colts.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Warren, Indianapolis Colt. You are an Indianapolis Colt.
It all goes back to you got to be able to picture the guy in your uniform. If you're drafting people just on a whim and you never thought to think like, oh, would they look good in the blue and white striped uniform?
You think they think about that?
No,
teams?
That's why half these teams suck. Like Eagles look at their guys and they're like, all right, he kind of looks like Jalen Carter. He could play like Jalen Carter. He's out of Georgia. Yeah, he looks great in that uniform. They draft him.
That's the number one key.
Philly ain't sitting there drafting guys
based off skill and physical attributes.
They looked at Cooper DeJean. And they were like, he looks like he could be in an Eagles uniform. And then they looked at the O-lineman from Iowa, and they're like, nah, that doesn't look like a Eagles uniform guy. And then they looked at Cooper DeJean again, and they're like, yeah, we're drafting him. That you gotta look at the uniforms.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You make a good argument.
Why do you think people put they put pictures out that are artificially made with the guys in the uniforms? Why? Because we all have to see how it looks.
It's true.
And if it doesn't look good, we're not drafting them. Why do you think Gentry's going to the Cowboys?
Because it looks good.
Because it looks good.
Because it looks real good.
It looks really good.
But is it wild to think that I think this team is going to really start imploding soon?
The Colts?
I think they're going to implode.
I think you're spot on.
Luke and all my Colts friends are going to hear this. All my Colts fan friends. Like I only have fucking 2 of them. Sorry.
Well,
it's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah. for the shoe.
Yeah.
Remember, whoever that guy is, love to have him on.
That guy.
They're losing a lot of pieces. The secondary, like, they don't have a playmaker on defense. That's another thing too. They have a couple of solid guys, good guys, average guys. Zaire Franklin's probably the one who I think is more of like an above average player, but they just have no playmakers on the secondary. I mean, Kenny Moore is kind of getting to that point now. Like, he's a good player, makes a good tackle, but like, then that's really it for the rest of the day. They got to address it. The safety, cornerback, O-line, and I think tight end. I just believe that the tight end position for them is so needed because ever since they had maybe Dallas Clark or Jack Doyle. Remember that guy? Jack Doyle. Who has been the tight end since? They've had 4 tight ends, and none of them can produce. I don't want to hear Mo Alley Cox, okay? Let's relax here. He's on the 1 yard line. He gets a freaking 1 pass for a touchdown, and everyone thinks he's the next Antonio Gates. But let's relax here.
Great name, though.
Great name. Jelani Woods. Like, they have these guys that have shown something maybe once or twice, and then ever since then, there's been no production from that position group at all. And I think Tyler Warren not only can, again, catch balls and run a wildcat, but could also run block. Yes, that is what she said. But he can run block, dude. He's such a great piece for them, especially what they need. I think they go, and they're sitting at, I think, 14. I don't know if he falls that far, but I can see them making a trade up to get a guy like him.
Okay. I can see that.
Him or Miami, but Miami with Jonnu Smith, I think that's another big team.
Yeah, I think you run it back though with Jonnu Smith.
I think so too.
You gotta.
I think he's still under contract, so I think I think he'll be fine. But once he's demanding a bag, that's when you ship him off. And again, you got about 4 solid tight ends in this draft. Mm-hmm. Miami could get one in the second round. I mean, Colson Loveland's going to go, but Harold Fannin from Bowling Green, I like him a lot. I think he reminds me of an old Chris Herndon.
Okay.
Even though Chris Herndon obviously lasted 1 year under Adam Gase's system, but
good year.
He's a good catcher. He's good catching tight end, bro. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like a lot of the teams in the league are missing that. The Colts especially, they're like. No one's starting. If you're talking about fantasy now, who's picking up a Jelani Woods or a Mo Alley Cox and putting them in your tight end slot?
Mike.
Ever.
Who's picking up a Colt and starting him?
Me. Josh Downs. Stud.
Fair.
JT.
Who's going to throw him the ball, though?
When Flacco was there, he was throwing him the ball. I loved it.
I'm glad you brought up Flacco because we got to address this guy.
He's an animal.
He hasn't produced nothing of substance since 2014-15. This dude is living in the past. It's becoming a Joe Flacco thing. Wherever Joe Flacco plays now, I know that we all like to get excited. You're not winning anything if you have Joe Flacco on your active roster.
Do you remember he was on the Browns?
Just call it.
Remember he was on the Browns?
I get it.
He took them to the playoffs.
No, I get that. And what happened?
Awesome.
What happened? He lost.
Oh, but he made it to they made it.
But he's not doing anything of substance. Like, your team's not winning anything if you have Joe Flacco on your roster. We got to eliminate this guy from the league. Colts.
And Andy Dalton.
If you bring him back, Andy Dalton I actually like for the Panthers, and we don't have to get into this, but no.
Okay, he's got
justice for gingers, though.
Justice for gingers.
He doesn't deserve the hate. No, but Andy Dalton, I like what he's doing with Bryce Young. Some would say Some would say he's the best quarterback coach in the country at the moment with what he's doing there. No, but we got to eliminate it. Colts. Just go get 2 solid quarterbacks and call it a day. Come into the next season, expect nothing, hope for greatness, and, just ride the season out. You're not winning anything. Colts fans, I hate to break it to you. You have more of a shot of finishing below the Titans than you do of finishing in first or second place in this division next year.
Oh, no.
I don't want to be that guy, but someone's got to be honest with these people, Mike.
And you know why you're right? Is because the next team we're going to talk about right now, I think, makes a big jump. And
Jacksonville.
We're jagging off.
I think
they're coming back, bro.
Like, follow, subscribe, back to the show.
Let's go.
This is the team. Like, I think they make a jump. And it's not because Duval, but I think it's because they actually have some good players and they can actually address it in the all right. I know we talk about how bad this defense is, but the D line isn't as bad as people think.
No.
Their run, they had a couple of players that would stop the run. Trayvon Walker hopefully can get better. I think he's looked better. And then Josh Allen, not Bills Josh Allen.
The other Josh Allen. Yes.
The Kentucky Josh Allen. That dude's actually a stud.
Stud.
He's a great edge rusher, great pass rusher. I think, listen, you're at 5, man. Mason Graham sitting right there. Call it a day. You win the draft. I think you get him and you address that interior. That's looking like a scary 7 front right there. Mm-hmm. So you get him. I don't think you pass up on him unless for some reason the Patriots take him or the Browns love him so much that, Abdul Carter's got to get surgery. Let's just take Mason Graham and just call it a day. So that's going to be interesting. We got to watch that as well because that's going to who knows what's going to happen. Is he doing this on purpose? We're
getting into the combine on next show.
Yes.
But some of these teams where news is coming out that they're hesitant on Abdul Clark's surgery, I mean, if you come out and say that as an organization, you should be fired on the spot. You should be left in Indianapolis. You shouldn't be allowed to return home. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Abdul Carter will change your organization, 100%. Whether he has surgery today, tomorrow, or next year.
Don't believe the smoke.
That is unreal.
They've seen so much smoke over the years.
He's trying to get to Philly.
Of course he is. He wants to go to Philly. And
absolutely.
Probably not going to happen. That's why the Cowboys are going to take him.
I don't blame him. I would take him on the Cowboys.
Imagine he falls to like whatever pick they have. Yeah. Keep dreaming, buddy.
Dude.
Yeah, that'll be dangerous.
Getting excited.
I know. But listen, the Jaguars.
They need a wide receiver. They need cornerbacks. They need a safety.
I think Javon Holland.
They need to bring back Mac Jones.
True. I think Javon Holland as a safety, he's got ties to the one coach that's there right now. I think his name's Anthony something. But he's got ties to him. You bring him back. I don't think Miami's going to pay him. Andre Cisco has the ball-making ability, like ball hawk playing ability. Mm-hmm. Didn't really show it. Got injured a little bit, but you address him. You get Mason Graham in the draft. You go for maybe a guy like Godwin. You got to get a receiver in there. Yeah. I love Christian Kirk to death. I know him and Trevor are boys, best friends. Mm-hmm. He's solid wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3.
He's talking a big game right now on Twitter.
What about?
He's been coming out and saying some things
he's
about
have the crazy
how people
year.
Are doubting him and that, he's coming back and they forget what greatness looks like.
I was a big
I
Christian
was
Kirk
too,
doubter.
but I mean, Trevor and him have that connection. Unlucky to get injured last year. What was it, week 1? Week 2? It was early in the year.
Yeah, yep.
I still believe that him and Kirk can get it going. I really do. And when you look at, I think ETN's going to have a bounce back year. I think, you got Bugsby. You got these guys. You got these guys that you could go in there and just, stomp on teams. You can hit the trenches. But I think wide receiver, if you don't have someone that you could trust every game, they're going to struggle.
You can't target Brian Thomas 15 times a game. It's not going to work. I'm sorry.
Not next year.
They're going to take him away. They're going to focus and key in on him. Christian Kirk, again, will get his. Got to be healthy next year, but they got to get it wide receiver. Gabe Davis is underwhelming. Who would have thought he would have been underwhelming? Dude stinks, all right? He stinks. I hate the Bills and I hate Gabe Davis. But you got to get another guy. Like I think if you get a Chris Godwin, again, is he going to go back to Tampa? I don't know. But you got to be willing to make a move. Liam Cohen, then that's why I say Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin, yeah, I think you're about to say this. Tampa Bay, and Cohen just came from Tampa Bay. That's a connection there that, does Godwin want to link back up with him knowing that he targeted him, felt like 15 times a game? Yeah. I mean, that's something that I would want to follow.
Mm-hmm. What a terrible injury too, because I was at the end of the game too. Yeah. But you gotta address that. I think cornerback again. You gotta get a cornerback. I think they've been in cornerback purgatory for years. Ever since Jalen Ramsey left, they've drafted guys. They've never worked out. They need to go get cornerback and O-line. And Brandon Sheriff, they snagged him from Washington. Did all right, solid, but now he's going to demand a contract. What are you going to do there? They gotta. It's really just the trenches and secondary, I think, is their biggest issue. Listen. If you could protect Trevor Lawrence, I think maybe we can see why he was drafted number 1 overall. You got to get that man protection. I mean, he's been running for his life down there. You have BTJ now. That's going to be fine. Get another receiver. And get Mason Graham. If you get Mason Graham, your team is going to look so different, and you need that. Especially in the division where you're in, where you have Jonathan Taylor, you have Joe Mixon, you have Tajay Spears and Pollard. That's another story we'll get into as well. But you got to stop the run. That's key. And you got to make these guys throw. Like, you got the pass rushers to do it. You got to stop the run. And Mason Graham, I don't want them to take him. I want the Jets to take him.
Yeah.
He's a stud. Yeah. He's perfect. You plug and play him, and he's going to give you a lot of years.
Yeah. They have $40 million to work with right now in cap space at this very moment. and they have a top 5 pick. I mean, there's not many teams that are in a better situation than the Jags, especially when you look at this roster.
To say, right?
They should be way better than they've shown, way better, which makes me think that this owner is just incompetent and he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, we've been saying it. Maybe they aren't meant to be playing in Jacksonville. Maybe they should move to London.
Yeah, that would be so ideal. They should just do it.
They should. They're the best team in London.
They'd make money.
We need to timestamp this and make sure we remember next year when they're in London, we're hammering the Jags.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
No mortals that week. Our mortal is a team moral on the Jags.
On the Jaguars?
Yeah. No matter who they play. If they're playing the Chiefs, Jags.
Yeah.
Eagles, Jags.
Funny that you said that because this team somehow before, 2-3 years ago, made it to the playoffs, came back on the Chargers.
Yep.
We talk about it all the time. Almost beat Kansas City in Kansas City. I think they lost by 3 or 4 points with Trev. I think it was his rookie year. And we were like, oh, dude, Trev's dynasty. He's the future, blah, blah, blah. And ever since then has not been the same. Yeah, Dougie P might have had something to do with it. But the personnel, the front office, which they just did not handle it correctly. If they handle the offseason correctly and they make the right moves, they go and sign these big names like Javon Holland, maybe a Chris Godwin or someone. They draft Mason Graham. This team is looking good, and their future is looking really, really bright. I think they can maybe make the playoffs. If that's one of my hot takes, the Jags could potentially sneak in and maybe win the division. I really think so. Fair. Because can Houston win it 3 times in a row? Because they need to start making moves. They got to start making moves now. Dealing with Kansas City's not easy, okay?
We're getting to the point in Trevor's career where it's like, all right, at what point are we just going to have to chalk this?
Yeah.
We're getting – because there's a difference between what Dallas did with Dak and what, Jacksonville's doing with Trevor. At least Dak's winning divisions. He's getting to the playoffs. He's doing he makes you believe that he could be an MVP. He was in the conversation. Trevor's not doing that right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm not putting that all on Trevor. The coaching hasn't been there. The ownership hasn't been there. The GM and owner, when they're bickering on live TV, that's not great. Coaches in and out, different offensive coordinators, no weapons, guys getting hurt, no defense. He hasn't been in a great situation. I think this year he will be.
Yes.
So
yeah, definitely.
He really he won't have we still got to see what they do, obviously, but he won't have excuses like he has in the past couple years.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Trevor as well, I agree with you. There can't be any more excuses now. Yes, again.
Nut up or shut up.
Nut up or shut up. Again, you were running around, but it's time now. You're getting paid so much money. You've been in the league. You're probably going on, your 4th year now? He's probably going to year 4. Yeah. It's time, man. Let's go. You're the starting quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know if that's supposed to scare people, but
let me tell you, it doesn't.
At least they landed on BTJ and they can make moves from there. That's a big piece. They really haven't had a good receiver like that. Can you name one besides Christian Kirk? A Jacksonville Jaguars receiver
in the last 5 years?
In the last 5 years. There's maybe one guy, and I can't even think of his name. Oh, Zay Jones. There you go.
Zay Jones,
and that was pretty much it. So, yeah, it's tough. Tough team to root for.
Dude, I'm struggling.
Mm-hmm. Even their quarterbacks. They're one of those teams.
Blake Bortles.
It's Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
There was one dude, I forget his name, but he was actually pretty decent too.
Yeah.
But
all right, let's move on. We got the Titans, top pick in the draft. A team that needs to make a decision on if they're going to be a Will Levis team or if they're going to be we're taking Cam Ward.
What do you think they should do?
I don't think that there's anyone on their draft board higher than Cam Ward. I really don't. I think what you've seen Will Levis do over the last year and a half, 2 years is just abysmal. His decision-making's god-awful. I mean, let's not even start with the football stuff. Just look at the off-field stuff. The fact that you should never have drafted this guy the moment you found out he puts mayonnaise in his coffee. He puts mayonnaise on everything. That's where we should have started this whole segment.
Some raw egg
Just
shit.
Disgusting. He's a
Yeah,
gross human being. He got embarrassed on draft night by his girlfriend who left and went back. I don't know what's going on there. Constant embarrassment with that. There you go. Hit Mike up. But then on the field, he's dumb. He's just dumb. I can make better decisions. And I'm telling you right now, if I went out there, I'm throwing 70 interceptions and getting sacked 20 times a game. And I would look better than him right now. He just constantly does stupid things. Like when you're on the not top 10 more than once a season consistently, that's not a good thing. Someone's got to tell Will Levis this.
So you're saying take Cam Ward.
You got to go get Cam Ward.
Cam Ward's
I
the answer.
do not think that they're going to take Shedeur Sanders. I don't think that they're in a position to take Travis Hunter. I think if it's either Abdul Carter or Cam Ward. And I think Cam Ward would fit what they're looking for. I think he would be great for the organization moving forward. You know, he's got Tony Pollard. The defense isn't terrible. They're going to get better.
It is.
You can still pump them up a little bit. I think offensively, they have
issues.
Issues, but pieces.
They have some.
You know, they have a bunch of boomer bust guys, very much boomer bust. But we also don't know if that's because Will Levis was the quarterback.
I think they trade the pick.
You think they trade back?
Should trade the pick.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think they trade the pick. Come draft time, you're going to have 5 quarterbacks that are going in the top 5.
Okay.
It's not going to happen, but there are going to be quarterbacks that guys are going to want, like your Cam Wards, like your Shedeur Sanders, like your Jackson Darts. People are going to creep up in the first round. And how much do these teams want Cam Ward? He's pretty much the quarterback 1 this year. I think it's pretty solidified now. Why don't you trade back? Why don't you? Because you have so many other needs on that team. Again, receiver, you need a receiver. Calvin Ridley, he can only do so much for your organization. Tight end is another one. O-line, like they need a whole offensive fixture here. Yeah. And if you trade back and at least get some ammunition and you go out and you sign an Aaron Rodgers.
Daniel Jones.
Or Daniel Jones. If you go get an A-Rod who maybe, can live in Nashville for the rest of his life. Like there are guys on the free, like they're not winning. We know this. Like you got to think long-term. You have to think long-term. They're not winning.
But from a financial side, they do have $54 million in cap space. Does it make sense to go get someone that's not going to draw excitement? Like Aaron Rodgers, no one's going to be happy that they're getting Aaron Rodgers these days. No one's going to be happy that they're getting Daniel Jones. I don't even know if they'd be happy to get Sam Darnold because just like us, we don't really believe that Sam Darnold can produce what he did last year again this year to that extent. I know you might, but deep down, I think that you have your doubts. And I think if you say no, you're lying.
I do and I don't. Which
I think that if you draft a Cam Ward, there's excitement, and financially, that's going to draw money into your organization. So financial aspects, that's going to look good. On the field aspects, now you have that $54 million in cap space. You have all those picks. Go use it to go get a premier wide receiver to put with Calvin Ridley. Go into the draft, get some O-linemen. Get a few defensive players that can really break up the play. You're not winning it next year. You're not winning a Super Bowl. You might not even come close to winning the division. But at least become competitive where on Sundays I have to think about if I'm going to take the spread against you or with you. Like, make me have an actual conversation with myself. Because currently I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly what you're doing because that was pitiful last year. We're going against the Titans no matter what.
Yep.
Like, if you go get a Cam Ward, there's a little bit of what if. Like he can create plays. He can create plays with his legs, his arm. There's excitement to it. Yeah, he's going to mess up. He's a rookie. He's a little bit of a wild card at times. But I think there's so much more of an upside from a financial and, franchise aspect than bringing in an Aaron Rodgers who's 50,000 years old on every drug on the planet, or a Daniel Jones who is just a wet blanket. Like, let's actually bring some excitement to Tennessee. You're in Nashville. That is a hotbed of excitement. That's a hotbed of music. It's a great industry. You're right across the river from all the bars. Give the people something to actually be happy about, because right now they just go to the game and then they go home and drink their sorrows away.
Or they should hit the strip.
Yeah, like they're not excited about the game.
That'd be a fun stadium.
Let's get your ticket prices up to $15 this year.
There you go.
Let's do that.
Listen. I'm gonna agree to disagree with you, man. I really am. I just think where you're at right now, there is going to be an offer by one of these teams, like the Jets, the Raiders, the Giants. There are going to be teams that if they think you're drafting Travis Hunter or you're taking a Cam Ward or whatever, that really makes sense. But you can get so much ammunition from that first round pick. Look at the Bears and the Panthers a couple years ago.
I mean, Bears got fleeced.
Sure. But there's talent at the back end of this draft and towards the middle end of this draft. When you look at guys like Kyle McCord and Dylan Gabriel and Jalen Milroe, like, you can afford to take one of those guys and just load up, because, again, like, even if they take Cam Ward, it might be sexy and it might be fun, but, dude, they might be just as bad. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree with that, actually. Like, you can trade back, but I think they would be making a very, very, very big mistake to not try and get a franchise quarterback in this draft, because Aaron Rodgers is just not going to get it done. Look what he did with the Jets with all those weapons, you know. And it's not all on Aaron Rodgers there, but to some extent, like, he just wasn't able to produce. And what does this Titans team have? We're sitting here saying they have no wide receivers. They have nothing going for them.
That's
like,
why.
Do you want to bring in Aaron Rodgers, who couldn't do anything with that Jets team? You'll be less competitive than you are right now with Will Levis.
True. Listen,
even if you trade back, you have to take a quarterback.
And I think they will. And I don't think it has to be a pick one. Like, are we
looking
that's
at, fair.
And I don't think this is why the draft this year is so difficult to put a pinpoint on. It's like, is Cam Ward worth taking number 1 overall? Are any of these quarterbacks worth taking number 1 overall?
Should you go get Jalen Milroe?
Like, that's like the route I think they should take, because they are just so empty on so many, like, receiver. They miscued on Treylon Burks. They traded away A.J. Brown. They got Ridley, who's approaching 30. They have no other. They have freaking Nick Westbrook Akine. Like, oh, okay, he had 5 straight freaking games with a touchdown. But, dude, let's be real here. Like, he's an average receiver. Like, they need so much. O-line is another one. D-line, tight end. Like, they just need to trade back, get ammunition, and just take as many offensive players as possible. And then your next year or down the line, or even this year when you're in the second and third round and you're sitting there and you're looking at a quarterback like Kyle McCord and those guys, like, I think it could still work. Why not? Because you got Mesa Rudolph there. They could find someone in the future. They will. It's going to take time.
I get that.
They have to know that.
There's only 2 teams right now in the league who have consistently been able to pay a quarterback and then build a team around them, and it's the Chiefs and the Eagles. No one else really proven to be able to do that. And to think that the Tennessee Titans, who are one of the more dysfunctional franchises right now in the league, if we're going to sit here and say that we're expecting them to, ride out with Will Levis or pay a quarterback and build a team, that's just not happening. You got to get someone on a rookie contract.
True. Yeah,
and,
scratch Aaron Rodgers.
And you just got to go with that rookie contract when it's cheap, and you got to pay the players around him, knowing that quarterback is good enough to get those guys the ball. Like this, the money side of this is massive for this team. You don't want to get in a situation where you have to pay a Will Levis or one of these guys who you really don't believe in, or you don't even really want in 4 to 5 years. You got to look 4 to 5 years down the line.
And think about Cam Ward. If you take him number 1 overall, you know that how the picks work.
Yeah, you're stuck with them. Yeah, that's true.
You're stuck with that big contract of his. So that's why if you address it later, you can at least keep building up the cap and have someone on a younger deal. That's why I don't think it's worth it for them, because is it really going to do something in the future and move the needle? It might in his 3rd or 4th year of his deal, but so that's why.
To everyone who just listens to that whole segment of Mike and I disagreeing and then coming to the point where we just agreed to put our 2 ideas together and mesh them into the best idea for the Titans, that's how you get deals done in this place.
There's so many little things about it.
Well done. We should be running an NFL organization.
Oh, my God. 100%.
I'm going to stand on this take, and we'll be getting into this soon once the draft all the draft talk starts coming around. We got our boards of quarterbacks.
Yep.
Jalen Milroe will be the best quarterback out of this draft.
Did you see his hand size?
Hand size. Dude, he grew 1 inch on both hands. Fantastic. Never seen that before. Never seen that. Impressive.
Impressive. Pretty impressive.
1 inch in a month. Whew. I've never done that in my life.
Oof. Tough scene. Tough scene, man.
All right. But in all seriousness,
why God do I gotta suffer? Oh,
Jalen Milroe's the best quarterback in this draft. I stand on it. Deion Sanders' children are not going to be good in the NFL. They're talking a big game right now, but they're going to end up on the Browns. The dirty, stinky Browns are going to be bad. You got Cam Ward, who showed out in Miami. He's not going to be better than Jalen Milroe. Still think he'll be good. Jalen Milroe is going to be the best quarterback. You got Jackson Dart following up behind him. That's my draft board right there. Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart. If you take out of those guys, Super Bowl.
We knew this
was
going to happen. By the way, we've talked Jalen Milroe. We talked him up a big game.
So
and then
much.
Right when the combine happens, you see all these attributes and you see what he does, and it's like, oh, is Jalen Milroe a first-round pick? Like, dude, we knew that Jalen Milroe. I mean, personally, and I know you did too. Jalen Miller could be a really good quarterback in this league, but he was projected a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah,
getting picked to the 3rd. Now he's a 2nd-round pick easy. He might be back end first. I wouldn't be shocked.
It depends on how trades work out at draft night, where teams land, what quarterbacks get taken. Because I still think that he could be a 4th-round gem in this draft. I don't, between the combine, pro days, and the draft, there's a lot of time. Yeah. There's a lot of time. And, Shador and Dion Jr. and Shiloh, they're going to push their narrative. They're going to get Shador up there.
Team meetings, coach
there's
player
going to be a
meetings.
lot of stuff. Cam Ward, he's going to go through similar situation. I think the quarterback market here is just going to be absolutely insane on draft night. We're going to end up seeing Kyle McCord go number 1 in this draft at Tennessee, and we're going to be sitting here looking at each other like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Atlanta's going to end up taking
a running back.
Dude,
they're going to take Ashton Genty.
Yeah, the Cowboys are going to take a safety for no reason.
If they took Ashton Genty, I would never root for the Atlanta Falcons again.
Let's make an agreement right here.
We will never root for the Falcons ever again.
We will never record another show if they take Ashton Genty with their first pick.
Okay,
in the draft.
Deal.
If that happens,
I was dumbfounded last year when they took Bijan. Paid off. All right, paid off.
You mean Michael Penix
paid off. Both, because I was a big Tyler Algier fan. He ran for 1,000 yards.
We remember that bet.
Yeah, that bet too. It's not paying off. What a wasted pick. But wait, one last thing here.
Okay, go ahead.
That number 1 pick, if we're talking about the number 1 pick overall for the Tennessee Titans in the draft, it dictates a lot. It really does, because that's going to just change the whole landscape of the first round. Because teams are going to trade up. How is the board going to look if you have a Travis Hunter sitting at 3 and the Giants trade up? It's going to change. The free agency, I'm so excited. I think that's a smart move. And they got the Chiefs ex-Chiefs GM in there. He's not going to screw around. He's going to play it smart, and I think that's the route they're going to take. I really do.
I like that.
It might be the day of the draft. That would be electric. It won't be. It'll be before, but why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they do it?
Well, before we get into the news, we've been bumping and bruising down here. I got to take a piss break.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah,
Dude,
sure.
This 4Wellness is getting me. Shout out to 4Wellness. Here's the code. Mike talked to him about 4Wellness.
4Wellness, there's the code. Colin's got to go. I guess they didn't put on the ad or the side effects that you really have to take a piss. So 4Wellness, here's the code. Use it, dude. Golf season's coming around. Apparently the gummies are excellent, so I haven't tried them yet. I'm waiting to golf with him. He's up there now. I waited to golf with him. I want to eat the gummies, maybe have a sip of his coffee, And golf season approaching, man. I went last Tuesday. Today is, I don't even know what today is. It doesn't matter. Went last Tuesday. Played at Architects in Easton. My buddies Tom. Shout out to you, Tom Senior. Andy Casala, my boy. It was a great time, man. Great time. I think 3 holes we got rained on, but. Man, it is approaching, and I cannot wait. So, anyways, here's the code 4Wellness. Use it, and you'll get some money off. So, thanks.
All right. I got a question for you.
What color is the soap?
After taking that, it is actually orange.
Okay.
So, I got a question for you. Because I just thought about this. When do you wash your hands when you go to the bathroom?
After I piss.
Sometimes
before. I'll do both.
So, you got dirty dick.
Huh? Do I have dirty dick? No.
So why do you wash them after?
Because everything I do beforehand, I don't know, I'm bartending,
That's fair.
But I usually
So why shouldn't you wash them before?
Because I usually piss with no hands.
Oh, you no hands it.
I usually no hands it, yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's simple yet effective.
All right.
Or sometimes, I usually will have to take a shit, and I'll just let it go from there.
I mean, that's different.
Yeah, but yeah, you always got. But sometimes I will wash my hands. Again, if I'm making drinks and whatnot, and I go there, my hands are a little sticky. I'll wash my hands there. Yeah. Then take a piss, wash them again.
Yeah.
How about you?
No, I agree with you. I was just wondering.
All right.
Yeah, no issues.
I thought you were like, oh, dude, don't wash them at all. I was like, oh,
no. I was just thinking about it. Why do we wash them after?
So
I get why we wash them after.
4Wellness really got you going today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Bumping and bruising. All right. So we got some NFL news here.
We got a couple things.
Yeah. So let's start with Deebo to Washington. Washington's picking up $25 million off his contract, and they gave up a 5th-round pick. That's not cool.
What's not cool? Like what Washington did or San Francisco?
No, just that he's playing for Washington. It's not cool.
Yeah, that's a big move. That's a
cool.
big move for
big
them.
move.
I think
because now you got Scary Terry and Deebo.
Yeah, that's scary. That's scary. Hey, if they make a move for Myles Garrett, watch out.
They're not getting Myles Garrett.
Watch out. But wait, hold
on.
They
can't even afford Myles Garrett now.
Let me ask you something. So I was working yesterday. I didn't really read upon it. Or up on it. 5th round pick was traded. So San Fran gave a 5th round pickup. Or no, Washington. Sorry. Washington gave up a 5th rounder. They got Deebo. Now, is he on an expiring contract? Is his contract up after this year?
Washington's picking up the 20-some million.
So, okay, so they're probably splitting the rest of his contract, whatever it is, or they're fully taking it on. It's one of those.
Let me see.
I like the move. Regardless, I like the move, but they're going to have to pay him.
Oh, it's a great move for them.
I just don't know how much. If he has 1 year left on his deal and it's a $25 million.
So this is the last year of his deal.
Okay. I still think it's smart, though, because you could kind of use him as a rental, but now you're kind of going the Hassan Reddick route where you had some agreements in, between both camps. Mm-hmm. Is he going to demand a contract? That's the risk that they're picking up. I think it worked out for both sides because I think the Niners just wanted to get rid of him. I think they just needed to move off of him. I think it was time to part ways. I like it for Washington. Like, they believe in this guy. They believe that he can obviously make a difference for their team. Yeah. I think it's going to be huge for Jaden Daniels and obviously Scary Terry. That's a really good wide receiver 1 and 2. But you have to make sure you figure out all the financial aspects of this deal and this contract, because if he's demanding a contract, what's he going to demand? Like, you have to. I hope they took that into account. They probably did. I hope they took that into account when they trade for him, because they can't just. He's not going to ride with the 1 year deal. He might, but
he's on a tryout year.
But so was Reddick, and he wanted a new deal, and he got it. It's like, I would not be shocked if we see another contract for him, and they got it because he could hold out, bro. He could hold out, and he could be like, Washington, I'm now with you guys.
Yeah, but I think he'd be guys like this that do this are stupid. Like Hassan Reddick, did he have a deal in place when he went to the Jets, or was he already a free agent?
He said, I believe their camp was they were going to ride out the deal with Philly.
Wasn't there an agreement that the Jets were going to give him a deal when he came?
No, I think there was agreement that they were going to ride out the deal that he was on, and then next year they were going to give him a contract. But then he started demanding, and I guess there was some miscommunication. It was a whole shebang with the Jets.
As long as Washington tells them, like, we're not going to give you a deal until after the year, there should be no issues.
So they probably were in talks with him before all this happened. So it's either we're going to see a holdout or we're going to see him play through his deal, which I think he should play through his deal because depending on how he plays, because he was pretty much had a down year. You had him on your fantasy team. If he has a down year, they're going to let him go, and somebody's going to pick him up. But if he has a good year, what is Washington going to do? Personally, I think they hold him for 1 year, and that's it. I don't think they bring him back. I think it's a 1 year deal, 1 year pretty much rental, and then from there, no idea. I don't know.
This is going to hurt when Jaden Daniels has a down year. It's going to really hurt Washington fans, I got to say, because I still stand with that. Deebo Samuel, great player, great weapon for Jaden Daniels. But I just, you look at some of these quarterbacks that do really well their first year and they come out their second year and it's not as great. Is Scary Terry going to come out and put up the same type of numbers in this offense? I don't know. Is the run game going to be as dominant as it was this year? I don't know.
I think that's why they signed Deebo. I think he's going to do a lot in the run game.
He's going to take up a lot. Yeah,
I really think so.
That's where I was going to go.
The run game stinks.
But that's concerning to me because it's showing that they don't believe in their run game. They don't believe in Jaden Daniels in the run game. So are Washington already selling out on Jaden Daniels? I don't know. I'm concerned for him. He needs the organization to back him. We need to get guys not on 1 year deals where it's can they be friends? Can we be friends? No, we have to be friends for decades. Mm-hmm. We got to be friends for decades. And if Harris is going to start running this Washington team like he runs the Sixers, fear should be in every Washington fan's head. Because if you look at the Sixers and the way that he's running it with 1 year deals all over the place, good luck. Jaden Daniels is going to need a knee replacement by the age of 28, just like Embiid. It's going to be disgusting. I'm going to feel terrible for him.
They should have traded Embiid years ago. Embiid, bro. They got it. Oh, I don't even want to get into it.
We're not getting into the Sixers. This is not a Sixers podcast. Okay, not a Sixers podcast.
So they change up how they're going to attack the draft now. So, again, they're late 20s or mid-20s.
I still think they should go for a wide receiver.
I wouldn't be opposed. Like if you got a guy like Luther Burns sitting there or Egbuka, like why not? Just because you're just gonna, again, you're gonna have him for 1 year, and then what are you gonna do with him? At least you have someone that can potentially back him up. Again, this ain't about Washington, but yeah, no. I mean, listen, I think it worked out for both sides. All in all, I think it's what Deebo needed. I think his time in San Fran, it was getting a little choppy. It was getting a little rough. There's some rough patches.
There was just disagreements all over the place.
They were unhappy. I think they were unhappy with how they I don't know, the couple years went where they lost in the Super Bowl, obviously lost in the NFC Championship once Brock went down. Like there was a lot of rough just pathways.
Yeah, I mean, for him it's got to suck, You got Mr. Irrelevant as your quarterback. You're not winning any trophies. You're barely winning divisions. Your agent, you're living in California, so you're basically losing all your money. It's a terrible situation for him. Like I wouldn't want to be there either.
Yeah, I think San Fran is now. They're going to start turning like a lot of these veteran players off. Like I wouldn't be surprised if McCaff is going to go at some point. Like
I don't know.
They're getting old.
McCaffrey is someone that
I feel like
I think he's done well enough where he's got 2 or 3 more years in him, and he might just ride off into the sunset.
Yeah,
I could see it. He's going to try and get that one last Super Bowl and pull an Aaron Donald and be like, "Yep, I'm out."
He'll go to like a winning team at some point, maybe like a 1-year deal when he's older. But no, it worked out for both of them. I think it was a good trade when you look at just both sides. So good for them.
Yeah. And shout out to the people that are trying to compare the Jonathan Mingo for a 4th-round pick trade.
Come on now.
That makes no sense. Like the Washington Commanders are shelling out $25 to $30 million for this guy.
They're casuals.
On top of like we didn't
You're
give
probably
anything.
Shelled
we
out
gave
$800K.
Yeah, like let's not act like we're doing anything crazy here. That's ridiculous. These Washington fans are delusional. That's why they thought taking over a Hard Rock in Central Philly was going to cause an issue. Dude, no one goes to the Hard Rock. It's Chickies and Pete's there. Take over Chickies and Pete's and then start talking crap. Washington fans are delusional.
They're on the high right now, bro. They'll face reality again. I still think they'll be a decent team, but they'll get punched in the gut at some point.
Yeah. One thing I want to get into that came out. Obviously, we touched on it with Matt Stafford heading back to the Rams. Now opens the door for the Giants to look at bringing in Aaron Rodgers. That's picking up a lot of steam. Picked up a lot of steam over the weekend. Could Aaron Rodgers stay in New York, and how do you think that's actually going to work?
Oh, it'd be hilarious, dude. I think it'd be worse. I think it would be worse than what we just saw. And poor Giants fans say, "Hey, listen, at least you guys saw some Super Bowls in your lifetime, so screw it, right? Who cares?" Apparently that's picking up a lot of steam.
Yeah.
I don't really see the fit, but it could work. I mean, it might be fun, but I don't know. This is a very similar situation to what the Jets were, and I think they're worse off right now. And he's gonna want a bag, dude. I just don't think it's worth it. At that point, Matthew Stafford's back in LA now. Is there any other free agent guy that you really think can I don't know, be there for more than 2 years and can actually, I don't know, do something for your organization? At that point, just take Shador and call it a day. This is where we're kind of coming to, because the Stafford connection I thought was the one that would have actually helped the Giants. But at this point, just you gotta love a quarterback, take him, because I don't know how many other free agent quarterbacks are gonna really fit that offense. So I don't like A-Rod to the Giants at all. It just doesn't. I don't think it's smart financially, and I don't think he looks good in Giants uniform.
So here's where it cracks me up. So Giants fans who were like, "Oh yeah, bring AR. We could do something. We have better weapons than the Jets." I'm seeing these comments on Twitter, and then we post a clip about Matt Stafford going to the Giants, and here's the response from Giants fans. Matthew Stafford makes no sense for the Giants. He doesn't fit the offense. In order for Daylaw's offense to be efficient, he's a mobile quarterback. But then y'all are going to turn around and say that you want Aaron Rodgers? What the are we doing? They're stupid. They're stupid. This team is dumb. They're destined for last place.
I hope they sign him now. But you know what? But for Curdy's sake, he's like, please no.
I hope they sign him. It'd be so funny.
It's so funny because all my buddies
it'd be funnier if the Giants actually did well.
If the Steelers for Logan and Tommy and all the boys and the Giants, one of those teams picked up AR. Right, I gotta say, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, we got.
They are going to probably hide in a hole for about I don't know, the year
Yeah.
until his contract's up.
It'll be bad.
Yeah, they got to just draft someone at this point because now the clock is ticking. Stafford's back. I really thought that was the fit. Apparently, Giants fans don't agree with me, but
Like, are there any free agent quarterbacks right now that are worth looking at other than Sam Darnold? I really don't think they are.
I was
Now
gonna
that
say
Matthew
Darnold.
Stafford,
That's it.
now
Yeah.
that Stafford's back in LA, I really don't think it's worth going out free agency. And
Russ.
you're better off just drafting one of these guys. I mean, you got 8 guys that, they all have their positives and negatives, but I think that all of them are capable of, if in the right situation, getting the right coaching, the right guys around them, could be very good in the league.
I could see Shador. Now Shador's making sense. That was the one domino to fall, which kind of shook up everything.
But here's the thing. What limited Shador? His O-line was so bad. What has limited the Giants over the last, 10 years, and the reason why Saquon ended up leaving and winning a Super Bowl with their rivals just south of them? The O-line. Like, you gotta fix that O-line if you're going to draft Shador. I think there's other options out there that can deal with a bad O-line right now that you could go get, like a Jalen Milroe. You could go get a Cam Ward, and they'd be much more efficient in that offense right now. But if you're going to draft Shador over the next year, 2 years, that O-line has to be addressed.
My thing is, I don't think there's anyone in the draft in the O-line position that's worth taking at 3. That's my thing. Like, if you really don't like Shador or any of these other quarterbacks and you want to trade back, but who's your trade partner? I mean, is it going to be, I don't know, Abdul Carter goes number 2 to Cleveland. What I don't know what Cleveland is a big
Vegas?
They play a big spot in this because if they do take a quarterback, someone's trading up with the Giants, or the Giants are taking someone probably like Shador or someone else. If they take like an Abdul or a Travis Hunter, now what? Like, they play a very key role in this draft because we don't really know the route that they're going to go. Are they going to take a quarterback? Because if Travis Hunter or Abdul goes number 1 to either the Titans or someone else, if they trade up just for one of those 2 guys, I see Cam Ward in Cleveland, but that might just add another name to the big jersey list of quarterbacks for Cleveland.
I don't know. Cam Ward looks good in a Cleveland uniform. Picturing it right now.
I think
he looks good. He looks good in orange. He did it all last fall.
He would fit in that division. I think against Burrow, Lamar, and then whoever the Steelers quarterback is. I think he can make a move.
I think that would be a good division for him because when you
would.
talk about the grittiness and the competitiveness and the trash talking, I think he'd fit
all from
there.
the South, by the way. Most of them.
Him versus Joe Burrow, him versus Justin Fields in that Pittsburgh, that gritty defense.
Not all from the South. Take it back. Mm-hmm.
No, they're not all from the South.
Yeah, take it back. Sorry.
Crazy take there. Dude, Lamar Jackson went to Louisville.
Yep. But he's from Florida.
From Florida. Okay, Cam Ward went to Miami.
From Florida?
Don't know.
And then Joe Burrow from Ohio.
Joe Burrow, Ohio. Justin Fields, Ohio.
Shit, they're taking Cam Ward.
They're taking Cam Ward. It's destined. It's destined. All right. Well, that's all I had. You got anything else?
I said this when you were taking a piss. Garrett Wilson wants to stay with the Jets.
Obviously.
He's looking for $30 million a year. You give him it.
Dude, the moment
give him $40 million a year. I don't care.
This whole debate about should we pay Garrett Wilson or not is the dumbest debate of all time. He is very good when he doesn't have a drug addict at quarterback.
There you go.
That's just the case.
Well,
and you guys should be signing him off.
I was so tired of seeing people. They were obviously putting the jerseys on Garrett Wilson. I'm like, he's not going anywhere. There's no way. Again, we have the leverage on Garrett Wilson. And he wants to stay, bro. Sauce Gardner, great leader. He's like, I want to be a Jet for life. Man, I love that. So bring his ass back. Give him the bag. Give him 5 years, $200 million. I don't care. Make him the highest paid receiver. I don't care. He deserves it all.
Sure.
You need a guy like him. Build around him. That's all for me.
All right. That's another great show.
Great show.
We will see you soon.
See you later.
Subscribe.